Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby.
Who is that?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
All this week on the Happy Families podcast, I'm loving what we're doing. Back to school, slices of advice on how to help the kids to navigate the ups and downs of week 1, week 2, getting back into the rhythm, getting back into the routine. I'm Dr. Justin Coulson, got a PhD in psychology, written 9 books about raising happy families, parenting expert and co-host on Channel 9's hit TV show, Parental Guidance. I nearly said The Parental Guidance. It's truth. I can't say it now. Parental Guidance, and the husband of the wonderful Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie Coulson, mum to our 6 daughters.
Well, I sound a bit boring now, don't I?
Yeah, sorry, that did. But you know what? 2 things. First of all, you've been the one who's been invited to be the guest speaker at an upcoming event on the Sunshine Coast, not me. Look at you go. And also, somebody asked you to MC their wedding, not me. So I think that you might be the star of the show. Anyway,
You're very funny.
Today, a slice of advice on helping the kids to love reading. Why? Well, holidays are over. Screens probably took over during the holidays if your family's like most. And getting the kids back into reading can be a little bit tricky. Some are more resistant than others. Reading is amazing, but I don't know. Sometimes the kids just fight against it. And the last couple of days, we've been having a really hard time sticking to one slice of advice. We've given several slices of advice, but today it's just one slice of advice to help your kids to love reading. But as we talked it over before we started to record this podcast, we realized that we were going to slice that one slice of advice into, you know, when you dip your little soldiers into the egg yolk, you get your toast and you slice it into long, thin strips and dip it into the egg yolk. That's what we're doing with today.
I think today is actually all about that one slice of bread with all of the amazing additives that we're adding in. Fiber and
the iron and the folate and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're adding to that slice.
I still like the soldiers imagery, whatever it is. It's still a slice of advice. The one piece of advice, if you want to get your kids back into reading or get them reading for the first time, is
read.
Literally, that's it. Read. You read, they read, everybody reads, and that's how you fall in love with reading. There's only one way to do it, and that's to actually have books in your hand, not screens. So let's slice up this piece of bread. Let's throw the additives in, whichever metaphor or symbol or object lesson you like, the better one, the best. Kylie, I'm super passionate about this, but as we were talking about it, you just threw ideas at me straight up. I would love for you to lead this, and I'm just going to chime in with some ideas.
You shared a quote with me recently that readers are leaders.
And leaders are readers.
And leaders are readers.
Yeah.
As the leader in my home, if I want my kids to read, I actually have to read. They have to see me with a book in hand, engrossed. They need to see that reading's enjoyable.
Set the example. Yeah. Yep. And that means that when they walk into the room and you're on the bed, that your phone is in your hand, that there is a book in your hand and that you're reading a biography or you're reading a textbook or a manual or that you're reading just something. It could be nonfiction, it could be fiction, but when the kids see you reading, they get the idea that, my parents really like this. Reading is obviously good for them. They might even say, not for me, but they're seeing that it's good for them.
I think not only that, though, if you're reading something and you find it really exciting or enthralling or you learn something new, sharing that concept, that idea with them, letting them read a paragraph and just going, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, I just read recently that a patchu, I don't know if it's called a patchu fish, Paacu. I'm going to call it a patchu fish, has human-like teeth. I haven't told the kids about that. I haven't shown them a picture of that yet, but I should, because to me that's just fascinating.
Human-like teeth.
I can't wait for our next book club podcast episode, which is coming up in the next couple of weeks, because I think that I've read something like, I think I'm up to 13 books for the year already. I love reading, and the kids
If I read
know
novels,
it.
I'd be up to that as well.
I haven't read it. I think I've read one novel. Maybe no novels. I can't remember. Anyway, read, set the example. That was your first one. What's the second one?
The second one is include your kids. Read to them.
And have them read to you.
This is really, really important.
Yeah.
Sometimes our kids aren't interested in picking up a book, but there's not too many kids.
Yep.
There's not too many kids who won't take the chance to have a snuggle with mum or dad.
Yeah.
And if you spend the time reading to them, bring out all of the voices, use your best theatrics to bring that story to life, your kids will grow to love books. Whether they read it or you read it doesn't actually matter.
I definitely have to add a couple of things to this really important slice of advice, or a piece of a slice, additive, whatever it is. You mentioned using voices. So at the moment, I'm reading a book called Levin Thumps and the Gateway to Foo to Emily, our 9-year-old. And
You've read this to all of the kids.
That's right. One of the characters, Geth, speaks a little bit like Sean Connery. And so I put that voice on, and there's another voice, Clover, who speaks a little bit like this. And it's really always up and always so funny. There's the comic relief. And the kids love it. They fall absolutely head over heels with the voices. You don't have to be theatrical. You can just do the very best that you can, do accents, whatever. The kids don't care. But I was also going to say, when it comes to including the kids, when you're reading to them, slow down. Don't skip pages, even when it's late at night and you're exhausted. Slow down, read carefully, include punctuation, and make sure that they can feel your enjoyment, because they'll fall in love with the story so much more when you do that with them. I think it's also worth stopping now and then and asking them, what would you do? How do you think they're feeling? How would you feel? You're teaching them empathy and perspective. You're giving them an opportunity to sit in the moment, and the level of involvement, the level of connection that you have with your kids is just vitally important. So to me, when you say involve them, get them reading to you, but when you read to them, so important that you slow it down.
My number 3 slice of advice would be to fill your home with books, all kinds of books. If you know that your child loves mechanics, then you find all the books on mechanics that you can, big bright pictures, word books. Just find things that tap into their interest, but also have things that they might not even know they're interested in. If books aren't there for them to discover, then how will that sense of curiosity ever come about?
I have 2 more quick slices of advice.
You've just cut those soldiers in half.
Whatever they want to read, full stop, end of story. If the kids want to read something that you're not that into, case in point. Now, please forgive me for being a book snob. I want my kids to read the classics. I want our kids to be involved in literature, true literature. I want them to experience the very best that the world has to offer in terms of great authors telling brilliant stories in classic ways. I want them to feel the goodness that comes from these great books. And our youngest daughter had no interest in reading at all until you helped her, or maybe she found it herself, I can't remember now, Wings of Fire, graphic novels. And I've stood in front of large audiences of people and said, just get the kids to read whatever it takes. It doesn't matter so long as they're reading, even if they want to read a graphic novel, even if they want to read Rugby League Week. I don't care what it is. If they want to read a Taylor Swift magazine, who cares? Just get them reading. And then I've got this kid who just wants to do exactly the opposite of what I want for her, which is to read the really great stuff. And so she's like, 7, 8 years old, and she's finally willing to read, but it's got to be dragon graphic novels. So way back then we said, okay, so we bought one and she read it in like an hour. And then we bought another one. I was like, why are we buying comic books? They cost a lot. And she's reading that in an hour and this is not worth it. And she read them. There's like, 5 of these graphic novels and she's read all of them multiple times. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
All the pages are dog-eared.
Yeah.
The cover doesn't look so
nice. And I keep
anymore.
on saying, don't you want to read this? Don't you want to read that? And what about Harry Potter? Like, come on, let's get you reading something that everybody loves. And she won't do it. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And then one day she decides that she wants to read the novel rather than the graphic novel of that first Wings of Fire. And you bought it for her and she devoured it. And we kind of looked at each other and gone, okay, so it's still dragons and there's still a lot of disrespect and bad attitude, but she read a novel.
I think for her, it took the challenge out of it because she'd read the graphic novel. So she had an understanding of what the story was.
Which goes back to that basic psychological need of competence. Once you've got a clue about what's going on, you're much more motivated, you've made some progress.
And that led to her wanting to read more and more.
Which
There's
meant
15
that you
books in
bought
the
all
series.
15 of the books in the series and she read the whole thing about 3 times. But then she started reading Harry Potter. And she's read the first 3 or 4 of those now. And that's led to her picking up Percy Jackson. Now she's about to turn 10 and she's reading Percy Jackson. She's reading Harry Potter, and her love of reading is off the charts. Like, her reading level is sky high. We know that kids reading is associated with much stronger academic outcomes. It's just so good for them. And my slice of advice is whatever they want to read, whatever it takes, get them into books. Now, I just said whatever it takes. This is my final slice of advice, and I'll share it really quickly. When I say whatever it takes, I don't mean bribes. Okay, bribing your kids to read just gets them to take a whole lot of shortcuts with their reading. They pick up the shortest book they can. They pick up the book with the most pictures and the biggest words. Bribing doesn't work.
And the same with reading charts. You've got to read 10 minutes a night or whatever.
Take the time limits away.
It actually takes the joy out of it because you have to do it to tick a box.
Right.
If you say 10 minutes, then your child's going to do 10 minutes.
It's like music practice, right? When the kids are playing the piano or the clarinet or the flute or whatever, violin, if you've got them learning a musical instrument and you make them go and practice for 30 minutes every day, they'll only practice for 30 minutes. But if they're playing the piano and you say, I love hearing that piano play, and it sounds like you're getting better, the kids will sit there and they'll play for a whole lot more than 30 minutes because it becomes intrinsically motivating. They're not doing it, as you said, to tick a box. So no bribes, no time limits. Oh, you know what? There is one bribe that is acceptable. I'll buy you another book. Once you finish that one, if you like it, I'll get you another one. That is, that's just going to encourage more reading. It and encourages a love of reading, and it helps the kids to tap into what they love the very most. So that is our one slice of advice about how to
cut into lots of pieces.
How to get your kids to love reading, raising readers who become leaders. Leaders are readers. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that it helps your family to develop a love of learning and a love of reading. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. For more information about making your family happier, visit us at happyfamilies.com.au. And tomorrow we're back with another slice of advice. If you would like more information about how to make your family happier, we'd love for you to visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.